Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's clip, I'd like to show you a brand new product from the team here at Drone Valley that we're incredibly proud of. It's a 2-port 45-watt car charger that will help you keep all of your quick charge devices fully charged because it provides both a PD or power delivery output. At the same time, it's providing a Qualcomm QC 3.0 output, which are the two standards that all modern quick charging devices use. In addition to that, the product is also smart enough to detect a non-quick charging device and will adjust its voltage and its current to safely and quickly charge that device as well. Now, the design of this product started in the beginning of the summer when we were on the hunt for a car charger that could charge all of our modern devices, because a lot of new devices use the power delivery standard or the QC standard. And what we found is when we pulled a bunch of chargers in to test them, they either did a pretty good job on the PD side or they did a good job on the QC side. Finding one that did both was really difficult. And if we did find one, it was either too expensive or too big to use in the car. So we sat down and said, can we design a car charger that solves all those problems for us? And that's exactly what this product is. The two things that drove our decisions anytime we had to make a decision around the engineering, where we needed it to be smart and we needed it to be safe. So on the smart side of the house, any QC charger, the minute you attach a device to it, starts a negotiation with that device. So the charger has to be smart enough to look at that device and figure out the right voltage and current that it's going to fire at that device to safely and quickly charge it. And it's different for every device, depending on its battery levels, the type of battery it's using, what charge level it's at, all those things come into play. So the charger had to be smart enough to make that determination quickly and safely charge that device. In addition to that, though, we wanted it to do it for both PD and QC. So not only does it have to negotiate on the PD side, but once it settles down there and starts charging that device, it also has to talk on the QC side of the house to devices over there. So it's got to be incredibly smart to do that. This device is smart enough to be able to have that conversation quickly and then again safely fire the right amount of current and voltage at that device to quickly charge it. On top of that, we were concerned about safety because the charger itself is not that expensive. It's about $25 for the charger, but the things you're going to power from it could be very expensive. So if you've got a $25 charger you're connecting a $1,000 phone to, you want to make sure this device is going to protect that device when it's charging it. So we built in over current, over voltage, over temperature. We built in short circuit protection. So everything we could do to make this really safe, to not damage any device you're going to connect to it, was something we were really focused on. We also spent a lot of time around the design because most of the chargers we found that had 2 ports on them, like this one does, were pretty big. And that's a challenge if you've got a car that's got a small console. It may not have enough room to stick them in there. So the sleek design of this really means you can use this pretty much in any car. We also built it out of high impact plastic. It's fire retardant, so if it gets warm, you don't have to worry about it warping or causing problems. We've got some aluminum in there as well. And just comparison wise, I'm not going to pick on the brand of this, but we brought in like 40 chargers to test them. This one is a QC and PD charger, but look at the size of that, right? Okay, so it's gigantic compared to what we're doing. Now it's got 3 ports on it, but still, that's way too big. So not only making it smart and making it safe, but making it small was another consideration. I think we did a great job with the construction of this. So a couple other things I want to talk about. The protection circuit built into it, again, is instant. So if you're going to connect it up to a device, it makes that negotiation happen quickly, but it's smart enough to also protect you from problems in the car, because if you're using a QC or PD charger at home, most home voltages stay pretty consistent. They're 120 volts, 60 hertz in the US, but in your car, you're supposed to get 12 volts. But based on how your alternator is behaving, if your battery is old or newer, it's the middle of the winter, that voltage could be 12 volts, could be a little higher, could be a little lower. So the charger not only had to protect what it was charging, but it had to handle what was coming in and regulate that voltage. So the voltage regulation circuit in this was something that took us the longest amount of time to get right, because if you test some of the chargers, and I'm picking on this one again, you'll find that what they do is typically start at like a 5.25 volt level, which is pretty high to be connecting up a lot of portable devices. But when you add a load to it, that voltage drops down to below 4 volts in some cases, and that's a really scary differential. You don't want to have that kind of variance in voltage, and that's all dependent on the state of the car. So this one's smart enough to read the input voltage and adjust the regulator circuit as needed to give you that consistent voltage output. And I'll show you in a minute. I'm actually going to test it on this. I've got a meter I'm going to put on it that puts various loads, 1 amp, 2 amp, 3 amp, and you'll see when I test that other charger, it drops from about a 5.1 or 5.2 down to 4.8, which is a pretty scary differential. This one will hang right on the money at around 5 volts. All right, so let me tell you what you can charge in this, because I fly a lot of different quads and I carry a lot of different products around with me. What I've got here is a portable battery that has a 12 volt outlet on the front, so I'll plug it in here. I'm just simulating your car. First thing you'll notice when I plug it in, there's a nice light ring around it, so it'll let you know you've got a good connection. So let's say I'm out for the day and I'm flying my Mavic Mini. Now, if you have the battery bank or if you have the Mavic Mini alone, you can quick charge these devices if you have the right kind of charger. So if you have a standard USB-A connection on this end, and I've got a micro USB connection on this end. Now when I plug this in, watch what happens. The charger is going to negotiate with the battery bank really quickly, and the battery bank is going to determine I've got 2 batteries that are fully charged and immediately start charging the center one. You can see that it's flashing pretty quickly, so I'm showing you that it's quick charging it. Another device that I've had a heck of a time finding a car charger for is the DJI Smart Controller. I use this pretty much every time I'm flying my Mavic, and it'll charge fine in the house and you can use a wall charger with it, but finding a car charger that had the amount of current this needs to charge quickly was really difficult. So the fact that this has got 45 watts of charging power in it really means that I can charge a lot of different devices. Now this takes a USB-C connection, so I'll use this cable. And again, I'm going in on one end with a USB-A here and a USB-C on the other end. And I'll show you pretty quickly once I plug that in. You can see that it's going to negotiate. I think you can see that. And it's quick charging. Now here's the cool thing. I would be happy if it just did either of these devices individually, but because it's such a powerful charger, I can actually quick charge both of these at the same time. Now this cable here is a USB-A to micro. So let me plug that into the side. Now again, I'd mentioned before that we have 2 different connections on here. I've got a USB-A and a USB-C. If you have an older cable like this, we have adapters available to turn it into a USB-C. And I'll talk about that in a second because we're going to sell the charger as a standalone charger. We also have what's called a universal charging cable that has a bunch of different connectors on it, and I'll show you that in a minute. But essentially, I've changed the USB-A to a USB-C. I can plug it in here. Now this is still quick charging. Notice how this comes on. And again, we go right back into that quick charging mode. So the charger, because it's so powerful, and again, it's so tiny, it can quick charge all your devices while you're driving from one location to another location in your car, which is pretty cool. All right, so let me talk a little bit about the cable, because you can use any standard cable you've got. So if you've got a USB-A cable that you're using today to charge your devices, feel free to use that, it's not a problem. But if you need cables, we have this really cool cable kit we put together, which basically takes, let me get this one out of the way. Yeah, it's a micro. It takes a standard cable that we sell as part of the kit. This is one of our PowerFlex cables. It's got a nylon ribbing on the outside. It's incredibly tensile strength. It's got heavy-duty wiring, so it can fast charge a bunch of stuff. But on the one end, it's a USB-A, and the other end, it's a USB-C. So if you're running a USB-C device, like we showed you a minute ago with the smart charger, you can plug it directly in. If you've got an Android phone, you're doing a switch, whatever you happen to be charging, you can plug directly in here. But if you've got a different type of device, let's say, for example, you've got an Apple product. So I've got an Apple iPad Mini 4 here. This kit comes with 3 adapters. One of them is a lightning connector. So it turns the USB-C into a lightning connection, and you can use that to charge your Apple devices. And again, it'll quick charge those devices. Now, if you have the Apple cable, the newer Apple cable, that's typically a lightning on one end and it's a USB-C on the other end. And you can plug that directly into the USB-C connection and you're good to go. It also includes a USB-C to micro. So if you don't have a micro cable, you can use the USB-C to micro to quick charge your batteries. Again, it's a universal cable, so I'm trying to give you this sort of plug-and-play setup where you can make a cable of any type you need. The last thing it includes is a USB-A to USB-C connection, because if you're using a standard cable today, you're going to occupy the USB-A connection with it. This allows you to take a standard USB-A connection and convert it into a USB-C so you can use the USB-C port. And again, what's cool about this is both those ports are active. It'll start, it'll check both batteries, and immediately start fast charging. So you can use either of those ports to quick charge your devices, and I think we've done a pretty good job with that. So that's basically it. So again, I've got the charger that's sold separately. It comes as a nice little box product. And then we also offer this universal cable kit that has 2 adapters. It comes as a USB-C to USB-A, but it comes with a USB-C to Apple adapter there and a USB-C to micro, as well as a USB-A to USB-C on the other end. So pretty much with this kit, you can figure out any type of cable you need. And what's nice about it is you can carry one cable with you in the field, and you can switch between different devices when you're out there and need to charge something pretty quickly. All right, so stay tuned. Now, what I'm going to show you next is I'm going to connect this up with what I'll call a current meter, or basically a load meter, that shows you me applying a 1 amp, a 2 amp, and a 3 amp load on the chargers, and you'll see the voltage start at a particular point and then drop as that load is added to it, and you'll see the big difference between sort of off-the-shelf chargers that are out there in the market today that I think are kind of dangerous, and the one we've built here. And really what I'm bragging about there is the regulator circuit inside of it. We're so proud of that. So stay tuned and I'll show you that. Now I'll do a quick side-by-side comparison between one of the car chargers we brought in for testing and the new Drone Valley car charger. Over here I have a power supply that outputs 12 volts to this port to simulate your car, and I have a meter that I can use to simulate a load on both of these chargers. And the reason I'm using this rather than just plugging in a phone is because I can vary the load between a 0.5 amp, 1 amp, 2 amp, and 3 amp, and we can watch how that additional load affects the voltage these chargers are putting out. So I'll start off with this one. It's fairly generic. It's got 3 ports on it, 2 USB-As and a USB-C. You'll find these on a lot of online shops. And I'll plug that in first, and I'll plug the meter into it. And what this will tell us is the voltage that the charger is putting out with no load. So with no load on that charger, I've got 5.23 volts out. Now I'll simulate the load. I've got a 1 amp, 2 amp, and 3 amp. I'll start with the 1 amp, which is a load that you'll find with most older devices. So if you have an older phone that doesn't quick charge, about an amp of current. Okay, good. So that dropped down to 5.09, which is still fine. I mean, anything over 5 volts is good, because if it's over 5 volts, the voltage regulation circuit in the phone or tablet will take charge and actually bring that down to 5 volts. Let me move it up to 2 amps now. Now 2 amps are most of your modern devices, like a lot of the smartphones and tablets you're going to use. And with the 2 amp load, it dropped just below 5 volts, so it's down to 4.96. Again, it's close enough where I'm not so much worried about it. But let me crank this up to 3 amps and see what happens. Now 3 amps would simulate a battery bank or a charging hub like with the Mavic Mini. Wow, with 3 amps it dropped way down. So it's down to 4.79 volts, which is really concerning because that device needs to see 5 volts when it's charging. Anything lower than that could cause some damage in that device. And especially over time, it's going to damage the battery. So that was my concern. Now here's the brand new Drone Valley charger. Let me plug that in. The first thing you'll notice when I plug it in is you see the light come on. That way you know you have a good solid connection. So let's see what kind of voltage we're putting out without a load. So without a load, we're at 5.09, which is great. Now let me simulate a 1 amp load. At a 1 amp load, the voltage drops to 5.05 and then comes right back up to 5.07. And what that's showing you is the voltage regulator is making adjustments for the amount of current being drawn, and it's adjusting the output voltage accordingly. So let me get up to 2 amps now. With a 2 amp load, we saw the last one drop just below 5 volts. And in this one, it did drop a little bit and came right back up to 5.06. Now let me put a 3 amp load on. Now 3 amps is probably the largest load you'll use for quite some time. And again, it's like a battery bank. Okay, so with the 3 amp load, it did drop down to about 5.04, but it's back up to 5.06. And you'll notice that pretty much at no time did the voltage ever drop below 5 volts. And again, that's something you wouldn't know by looking at a charger, and you can't really tell it from the specs. The only way you'd know that a charger can handle that kind of load on it or varying load on it and still maintain the voltage is if you ran a test like this. And that's the reason we do this kind of stuff, because we like to sweat these details. So hopefully that pointed out the difference in the internal electronics between these two, because on the outside they look very similar, but on the inside where it counts, they're dramatically different. I hope that was helpful. And I know it's really hard to get excited about a car charger, unless you're a total nerd like me. But if you're in the market for a car charger that you want to use with all of your quick charging compatible devices, make sure whichever one you're considering can provide both QC and PD charging, and also get one that's powerful enough, because a lot of the ones in the market that can do both standards, if you read the fine print, you can only do one at a time. You can't use both standards at the same time. With ours, you can. So we're pretty proud of this product, like I said at the beginning. We're calling it the Evolve Charger because we really feel like these two new standards are going to be in every device that you're going to be using in the years to come. So buying a charger today that adheres to both those standards means that whatever you do, upgrading your phone, upgrading your drone, there's a good chance this charger is going to handle it for you. And again, we're a bunch of nerds. We use it, and it's a pretty cool charger. So if you have any questions about anything I've covered, please drop them in the comments below. I've got links below as well for the charger itself. We sell it 2 different ways. We sell the charger alone, and we sell it as a kit, including this universal cable kit. We also sell the cable kit separately, but if you buy them together as the package, you actually save a couple of bucks. So if you're interested in either of these products, we really appreciate the support. We love putting products like this together, and if you guys are finding value in them, we'll continue to build them. Now, I'd mentioned it's part of the Evolve series. We're working on a wall charger, a series of cables, a whole lot of other stuff, a portable battery bank, that are all based on those modern standards of quick charging. So if you like this product, stay tuned to the channel. We'll have a couple more coming in a couple of weeks. So we're pretty excited about that too. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the support you've given the channel. I really enjoy putting these kind of products together and talking about them here on the channel. So if you're finding value in it, like I said, we'll continue to do it. So until next time, happy flying.